Dybbuk, A Story Made in Heaven by Francine Prose. Pictures by Mark Podwall. "40 days before a baby is born, the angels in heaven get together and decide whom the baby will marry. When the baby grows up, of course. A boy from here, a girl from there. The angels will match up the happy couples. And so it was decided that Leah would marry Chonon. But first they had to be born and grow up. Leah grew up smart and pretty in the little town of Chopski. And Chonon, miles and miles away, became a brilliant student with the kindest heart and the loudest sneeze, achoo, in the little town of Chopski. Eventually, Chonon went to study with the grand rabbi of Chopski, where he moved into a rented room in Leah's family's house. When Leah and Chonon met, they fell in love at first sight. Well, not exactly first sight. The angels had introduced them 40 days before they were born. Then Chonon got nervous and started to sneeze, achoo! So loud that storm clouds of feathers flew from the pillows and the family's best dishes wobbled dangerously on the shelves. Leah and Chonon decided to marry just as the angels had planned. But because Chonon was a student and poor, Leah's parents had other plans. They wanted her to marry mean Old Benya, the most powerful man in Chopski. One day, Leah told her mother that she and Chonon were in love. That afternoon, when Leah went out to the market, her father ordered Chonon out of the house and out of Chopski. Besides, Leah's father told Chonon, my daughter is planning to marry Old Benya. In despair, Chonon went back to the little town of Chopski, and everybody could hear him sneezing sadly, achoo, 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 miles and miles down the road. That night, Leah asked where Chonon was. "He's gone home to Chopski," her mother said. "To get married," said her father. "Guess who's coming for dinner?" said her mother. "Mean old..." "Nice Old Benya," interrupted Leah's father. Soon after, in despair, Leah agreed to marry Old Benya. Everyone began preparing for the marriage. It was to be the grandest wedding ever celebrated in the little town of Chopski. The fiddlers tuned up their violins. The bakers baked a mountain of cake and bread. The cooks borrowed every kettle in the town and made an ocean of chicken soup. On the day of the wedding, Leah's cousins and aunts came to help her get dressed. "I don't want to," said Leah in a deep, low growl and a trace of a Chopski accent. Her aunts and cousins stepped back. "Why is her voice so strange?" they asked. "She doesn't sound like herself at all, and she looks so far away and peculiar." "A tiny sore throat," Leah's mother said. No reason to be alarmed." But as they approached the synagogue, Leah's voice got deeper, and as the women led her under the wedding canopy, Leah looked even more far away, and she growled at Old Benya, "You are not my bridegroom." "That doesn't sound like Leah," said the guests. "She sounds like a young man with a Chopski accent." "Take her away!" shouted Old Benya, who wasn't called mean Old Benya for nothing. "I don't intend to marry a girl who sounds like a man from Chopski." "She sounds like my student Chonon," said the Grand Rabbi of Chopski. But no one heard him, because Leah's parents were shouting, "What will happen to the mountain of cake and bread, to the ocean of chicken soup?" "Eat it yourself," growled Leah in that deep, scratchy voice. "Someone do something," cried Leah's mother. "Bring her some chicken soup." "I don't want chicken soup," snarled Leah. But she bent her head over the peppery soup and sneezed so loud, "Achoo! Achoo!" that the fluffy wedding cake collapsed and the fiddlers dropped their fiddles. "Now I know what has happened," said the Grand Rabbi of Chopski. "Your beautiful daughter has been possessed by a Dybbuk." "A Dybbuk?" explained Leah's parents. "A Dybbuk!" exclaimed the guests. "Well," said the Grand Rabbi, "sometimes it happens that the angels pick someone for us to marry 40 days before we are born, but we ignore the angels' plans, and then a Dybbuk possesses your daughter." Then Leah shouted in that throaty voice with that Chopski accent, "I am Chonon! I am Chonon! I want to marry Leah!" And she tore up the ketubah, the marriage contract. Leah's mother fainted. As soon as she opened her eyes, she asked, "What can we do? How can we cure her?" "Well," said the Grand Rabbi, "sometimes it happens that if a person marries the right person, the person the angels picked out for them, the Dybbuk leaves the person's body." "Send someone to Chopski," Leah's mother said. "Send someone to get Chonon." "Not so fast," said Leah's father. "If it is a Dybbuk, and let's say it is a Dybbuk, then we must call Rabbi Pinchik, who knows the magic spells for driving out Dybbuks." So Rabbi Pinchik was summoned and came with his anti-Dybbuk equipment. The villagers put on white prayer shawls and blew very loud on black shofars. Then they lit black candles and arranged them in a circle around Leah, and the smoke rose towards her nose. "I command you, Dybbuk," said Rabbi Pinchik, "leave this young woman's body." "Achoo! Achoo!" Leah sneezed, and all the candles blew out. "Let's try again," said Rabbi Pinchik, and he relit the candles. But again Leah sneezed, and all the candles went out. "I am Chonon," said Leah in that gravelly voice, "and I want to marry Leah." "You know," said Rabbi Pinchik, "I don't think this is working so well." "Do something!" cried Leah's mother. "I don't know," said Rabbi Pinchik. "Excuse me," said the Grand Rabbi of Chopski. "As I was saying earlier about the angels having chosen someone for your daughter to marry." "All right, I give up," Leah's father said. "Send someone to Chopski. Send someone to get Chonon." So a messenger raced to Chopski to invite Chonon to a wedding, his own, and Chonon raced back to Chopski so fast that the soup was still bubbling in the kettles and the fiddlers' violins were still in perfect tune. "Hello, Chonon," said Leah in her normal sweet voice. The faraway look disappeared from her eyes and she smiled. "Hello, Leah," said Chonon, and he sneezed so loud, achoo, that it seemed like a signal to start the wedding. Never had such a fine wedding been celebrated in the town of Chopski. The ocean of soup was guzzled down, all the cake and bread were eaten, the fiddlers fiddled for 3 days and nights and did not run out of songs to play. Even mean Old Benya sang and danced, and from that day on everyone called him Nice Old Benya. So Leah and Chonon were married and lived happily ever after, and they never again were possessed by Dybbuks or spoke in anyone's voices but their own. Chonon was appointed the assistant grand rabbi of Chopski, and he and Leah went on to have many happy children for the angels to match up with husbands and wives 40 days before they were born.